What made you realize the hero everyone praised was actually a coward? Staff Sergeant Brendan Caldwell was untouchable. 3 years after Ramadi, he was still the golden boy of our battalion. His photo hung in the command building next to his Silver Star citation. He'd give speeches to new recruits about courage under fire, about leading from the front, about never leaving a man behind. I'd heard the story 100 times. How he'd charged through enemy fire to drag 2 wounded Marines to safety during an ambush. How he'd held off insurgents single-handedly while calling in air support. I believed it too. Everyone did. Until I found Wade Carver's journal in a forgotten footlocker in the company storage room. I'd been tasked with clearing out old gear before our next deployment. The footlocker had no name tag, just a serial number that didn't match anything in our system. Inside were the usual things: PT gear, a broken watch, field manuals. Then I found the journal, leather-bound, pages yellowed and stiff with old sweat and dust. The entries were dated from our Ramadi deployment. I recognized the handwriting, neat, methodical. Carver had been our squad's medic. KIA 3 months after the ambush that made Brendan famous. I remembered the memorial service, the folded flag, his parents crying, but I'd never known him well. He kept to himself. I started reading, just curious at first. Then I found the entry dated April 17th, 2006, the day of the ambush. Caldwell froze today, completely froze when the RPG hit our lead vehicle. Private Donnelly was screaming, both legs shredded. Corporal Hayes was bleeding out from neck wounds. I ran to them, could barely hear anything over the gunfire. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped my aid bag. When I looked back, Caldwell was still behind the wall where we'd taken cover, just standing there, not moving, not shooting, just gone. My stomach dropped. I kept reading. I dragged Donnelly to cover first, applied tourniquets while taking fire, then went back for Hayes. Already knew he was too far gone but tried anyway. Caldwell never moved. Lieutenant Vaughn was the one who laid down suppressing fire. Vaughn was the one who radioed for air support. By the time I got both men stable, the firefight was over. Donnelly survived. Hayes didn't. The entry continued. Afterward, Caldwell started telling everyone how he pulled them out, how he held the position. Lieutenant Vaughn just let him, told me to keep quiet, said the unit needed a hero story for morale and Caldwell looked the part, said my version would complicate things since Hayes died anyway. I should have fought it. I should have told the truth, but I was just a private. Who'd believe me over an NCO and an officer? I could feel my pulse in my ears, my hands shaking as I held those pages. I'd shaken Brendan's hand. I'd bought him drinks. I'd listened to him lecture about courage. I found Lieutenant Vaughn, now Captain Vaughn, at his desk. He looked older, grayer than I remembered. When I showed him the journal, his face went white. Where did you get that? His voice was barely a whisper. Storage room. Is it true? He was quiet for a long time, staring at Carver's handwriting. Finally, Carver was going to file a formal complaint when we got back stateside. Then he got hit by that IED en route Michigan. After he died, the journal disappeared. I thought someone had destroyed it. Why did you lie? Because Brendan's father was a colonel. Because the brass wanted a hero story, not a complicated truth. Because I was ambitious and didn't want to make waves. He looked me dead in the eye. Because I was a coward too. I let Carver take the truth to his grave so my career wouldn't suffer. And Donnelly? He's still alive. He knows the truth. Vaughn nodded slowly. He does. We've been paying him to stay quiet for 8 years. Disability money, cushy VA job, housing assistance, hush money essentially. I reported everything. The investigation took 4 months. They interviewed Donnelly, who broke down and confessed the whole thing. Pulled deployment records, radio logs, helmet cam footage that had been misplaced. It all confirmed what Carver had written. Brendan's Silver Star was revoked. He took a dishonorable discharge rather than face court-martial. Vaughn resigned his commission, forfeited his pension. Last I heard, he's working night security at a warehouse in Ohio, and Brendan's living in his parents' basement, telling anyone who'll listen that he was framed. But here's the part that matters. The Army posthumously awarded Wade Carver the Silver Star, the real one, for the real heroism. At the ceremony, his elderly parents stood on that same stage where Brendan used to give speeches. His mother held that journal against her chest and whispered, "I knew my boy was brave." And Private Donnelly, he paid back every cent of that hush money, then started a foundation in Carver's name for combat medics suffering from PTSD. Turns out carrying someone else's lie for 8 years was its own kind of wound. He's finally healing now by making sure the truth matters more than the story.